Well, a very good evening to you. Thanks for clicking on this evening's brief edition of the Long Range Discussion. And yes, I've made a pretty bold statement both in the blog and Facebook regarding the month of February. I'm looking, folks, I've been quite quiet the past few days. You'll have noticed that regarding my thoughts on the long range, and I've been digesting the information that I've seen in front of me. And what I will say is this: I am excited as to what I'm seeing. Both the models, the ECMWF, yes, isn't looking particularly cold for next week. Next week, folks, to be honest with you, I'm actually looking further out than that. I'm not looking at focusing too much on next week, although later next week and into next weekend, folks, we may see some snow, substantial snow, and across multiple areas of the UK. But I will hone in on that later down the road in a few days from now. But I'm looking at things, I'm looking, and I'm impressed by what I'm seeing, really. And I'm going to show you the evidence that backs up why I think we could be looking at multiple severe Arctic outbreaks across the mid-latitudes, both across North America, Europe, and as well as eastern parts of Asia as well. And we are seeing, what I'm going to show you, folks, is actually the GPH anomaly. This is for the 10 millibar height, the stratospheric level. And you notice here, folks, warming episodes. These oranges show up the warming episodes that we've seen. And of course, there's plenty of blue there as well. So that indicates some pretty strong warming taking place at the 10 millibar level. But what I'm noticing here, folks, and this has caught my eye, and this is something very, very notable. You need to pay attention to this, folks, because this here column right through the 10 millibar level is showing orange and with red up at the top. That indicates strong stratospheric warming over the entire North Pole. That, folks, is significant. What that'll do is that will force the NAO to tank into a negative, weakening the westerly jet stream winds. And of course, with those weakening of the jet winds across the Pacific, the Atlantic, and across the hemisphere as a whole, we will then see basically a blocking pattern taking shape. We'll see mild areas of high pressure pushing up into the polar region, and of course splitting apart that polar vortex, forcing that Arctic air southwards. We've seen, and we continue to see, Arctic air over the lower 48 of the United States. We're seeing cold weather over Europe. We've also seen the first snowfall over Tokyo and Japan as well. But that is a result of the previous stratospheric warming event taking place, and that was, of course, these areas of stratospheric warming here. We are going to see, however, mild conditions show up across a large part of the North America. In fact, we are going to see a fairly substantial warming over that continent. We are going to see milder conditions across the UK, and of course we have got those milder conditions at the moment. However, we have got the indications all around us that we are going to be seeing those changes taking place. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull up this map here, folks, of I'm going to try to pull up the right map here. Now, I'm going to show you here, folks, the NCEP GFS deterministic Arctic oscillation forecast. Notice the positive, and then at the end of the sequence, the forecast. These wee circles indicate a forecast. Look at how it just drops off the table here, folks, around the 25th, 26th of January. That, folks, is significant. That, to me, is an indicator, a result of that very strong warming of the 10 millibar height level. And of course, not only are we going to see this Arctic air release back into the mid-latitudes in a much stronger, more longer progressive pattern over the course of the latter part of January and into February, but for the UK and Western Europe, this, folks, is what we're looking for. The North Atlantic Oscillation, NCEP GFS. Notice how positive it is, and of course it, as well as the Arctic Oscillation, tanks into the neutral. Some models, in fact, are actually forcing it down into the -4, really dropping it off the scale, so to speak. That, folks, is the reason why I think the UK and Europe is in for some significant cold perhaps what I think will happen is we're going to see periods of snow first, going to blanket the majority of the UK. I made a statement, a bold statement not that long ago, that I would be surprised that if the majority of the UK, not all of it, but the majority of the UK would be covered in snow by the latter part of January. That is a very real possibility at the moment, folks. Not written in stone, but it is a real possibility. My reasoning why I think the cold is going to be significant is if you look at how long those indices have been positive, that dramatic flip would indicate that brutally cold Arctic air, if it sweeps south, could be much more powerful than many realise. All indicators to look at. Continue to keep checking back the weather and climate through days of Mark Vaughan for the very latest updates. Have a good evening, folks. Bye-bye.